Good morning, everyone. Welcome to OTBN365. I'm Jeff Hunt from Jeff Needs Sports. I'm your host today on this fine Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. And we appreciate everybody that listens, appreciate everybody that watches, and we appreciate everybody that likes, comments, and subscribes to our shows at offtheballnetwork.com. You can find us at Twitter at OTB_network. Get at all the guys there. I think we've got some upwards of a dozen shows coming out of the network right now. So there's absolutely something for everybody, whether it's movies, sports, you name it, we got it. So we appreciate y'all. So here we go. Let's get started. It's wasn't a super full night well, actually it was a full night in sports, but like the NBA is at the second round now, so we're narrowed down already. So last night was 76ers and the Heat series kicked off, and it was exactly what we thought. Joel Embiid cracked his orbital bone couple games ago. He's out at least. I mean, these things usually carry on. As of now, he's definitely out for a night or so. I think 2 games minimum, but that's a tough injury to come back from. Then you're going to be wearing the mask and all those things. So essentially, what this game was to me was you traded for James Harden. James Harden's been what we've termed a superstar for the last 10 years in the NBA. He's had a couple different chances, a couple different teams to get it done. Fell short with Houston. Gets out of there, gets with the Nets, doesn't match there. He gets traded to 76ers. So I'm like, okay, this is it. Monday night is James Harden's night. This is the most important game that I've watched him play. He's got to figure out a way to get through this. He's got to help his team out. He's got to pick them up. Embiid carries this team, all season, MVP caliber performance. Come on, Harden, you got to do something. And they don't. The Heat just wiped the floor with them. It wasn't even close. Harden has 16 points on 5 of 13 shooting. He couldn't get it. I understand they could focus on guarding him, but he shouldn't be that easy to be taken out of the game. This one was never close. Miami's running around having a good time. I don't see how the 76ers recover. I don't think they can turn it into a long series, and I definitely don't think that they can win this series. It's just not in the card. And they're not playing bad. Maxey and Harris are doing their thing. If Embiid's healthy, I think they have a chance. Miami's a good basketball team, not a great one yet. We'll see by the time they get to the conference finals, which I'm just declaring that already. So I think the 76ers are in trouble. It's going to be another season of where Embiid, waste another MVP season, but I don't know, MVP type season. I know he's not the MVP, but I just don't see it in the cards, man. Too bad for Harden. It's the window's shut, man. I feel bad. I think that there's a version of him that can still be a very helpful player in the NBA and a really good second or third option. And I have spurts. I'm sure he's still got spurts in him. Great scorer in his time, but just something's just not clicking like it was, and it's going to be interesting. Unfortunately, the biggest talk about Harden is going to be the offseason, whether he gets the giant contract or not, which he probably is because the NBA is just prints money apparently. It was something. So, second game of the NBA night. I'm more of an NBA guy. I'm not gonna lie. If you tuned in to hear the NHL breakdown, I'll get into it a little bit, but I'm just not, and by no means an expert in it. We have guys at the network that are. So, the next game on the NBA list was the Phoenix Suns and the Mavericks started their series. This is another one of those. Booker's had a bit of a hamstring issue. He come back. He actually looked really good, which is scary for the entire league. He was running around, making his typical shots. Chris Paul is, again, it feels like we do this every playoffs with Chris Paul. He looks great. He just, when you get to playoff basketball, he is so smart and crafty and just experience and everything. He finds a way to get points, finds a way to help guys get points. Really, really hard to stop. I hope that the injury bug does not bite them again this year. I want to see a complete version of the Suns, especially Chris Paul, moving forward in the playoffs. But Doncic again is really good. A lot of this is on him. and he scored 45, and it really wasn't even close to being enough, so that's scary. That's scary for the Mavs, that they can get pretty good production, and yet they weren't even in the ball game. So the Suns are absolutely rolling right now, and but again, it's one game. We talked about a couple nights ago with the other two series. It's one game. Everything can change on a dime with a twisted ankle, and I'm not wishing for any of this, but it's you're crazy if you don't acknowledge the fact that injuries happen in these NBA playoffs all the time, and it'll change a series. So we will see. But as of now, to me, the Suns and Heat clearly look like they're going to move forward out of those two series, and then the other two series fire back up, on Tuesday night, the Bucks Celtics, which it's a must win for the Celtics. I don't care. There's no way they're beating the Bucks, 4 out of 5. So that the Celtics have to win tonight. It's as simple as that. Can they? Absolutely. Again, we talked about it yesterday. Celtics got to come out firing. They've got to score. They've got to be aggressive and score points like they were. And a couple of those Nets games to where they're just pushing the pace, and they're controlling the story. We'll see, but yeah, big game for that. Golden State Memphis again. Who knows? I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen in that game. Either team could win by 20. Either team, it could be overtime. I have no idea. Curry might score 50. Ja might score 50. I really, honestly, that's the game that I don't have the slightest idea what's going to happen, and I mean that in a good way. I love it. It's going to be a fun series. I think that's going to be the funnest series, most entertaining out of the four still going on. And like I said, the NHL playoffs started last night. A big deal. Like like the NHL playoffs are great. Everybody knows that playoff hockey is tremendous, and that kicked off last night. It's weird that it's later. The NBA is already in the second round, but I don't care. That's going to extend it. And what I like about the NHL, it seems like they will play every other night until this thing is finished. We know that typically their series, you'll have upsets. You have teams that shouldn't winning, all these crazy things. There'll be 7-game series. There's going to be fights. There's going to be suspensions. There's going to be everything that the NHL playoffs give you on a yearly basis. It's honestly, I may not be the biggest fan of it, but I do recognize that it's one of the most exciting things in all of sports is the run to the Stanley Cup. So it's I like already Tampa Bay, the defending champs are down 0-1 to the Maple Leafs. I think that's a heated series. I'm pretty sure that those two don't like each other at all. It's like I say, defending champs are down 0-1 already, so there's already a narrative. It's great. So hockey fans out there, enjoy the NHL playoffs. I know it's exciting time for you guys. So that's it. So a non-game subject that came across my we'll say my feed. All of us in this business know, like, you just kind of have a feed that you're always watching. Like, what are the fans talking about? What are the listeners talking about? What's the conversation? So yesterday, what came up, it's a day, a couple days after the NFL draft is over, and a question subject topic again came up, and it was, should undrafted NFL players, it was just a question, should they be allowed to go back to college and play if they don't get drafted in the NFL? Or let's say I'll extend it and say, even if they don't get drafted near as high as they should have. Now, I believe this is something that did happen years and years ago, to where players could make a choice. So, but now we're nowhere close to that. Now and especially for my lifetime, as soon as you committed to a draft and got an agent, you were done. You could not go back to college and play. Your eligibility was over. And to me, I personally, that's changed a little, because now you have the NIL. You're allowed to have an agent while you're playing. So now, hiring an agent doesn't eliminate you from being eligible. So then I'm like, well, why shouldn't you be able to go back? Then I extend it even further. I'm like, I think you should be able to go back no matter what. If you get drafted, let's say Malik Willis, for instance, goes about 70 picks later than he thought he was going to. Why shouldn't he be able to go back to Liberty? People do it all the time. People graduate college all the time with a bachelor's or whatever, and then go right back and do something else. And that's what's always told, we're told, right? It's about the education, and it's about, it's about the player's future. It's more than just sports. So now you're going to tell me that, a kid, maybe it's a kid realizes he made a mistake, got some bad advice, and then thinks, man, you know what? I don't like dealing with these guys in the NFL. I don't like talk, I don't like this whole process. I was more comfortable there. I'm going to go back. And let's say he's already graduated. For instance, a guy like Joe Burrow had graduated. He was graduated from college. His 2 seasons at LSU. Those were postgraduate studies he was doing. So let's say, a kid's like, okay, I want to go back. I want to continue my education. I play some football, play some basketball. Whatever the sport, track. I don't. It does whatever sport, and and maybe play my life out different. I don't know why we would. I don't know why we would be against that. Like, what would be the reasoning? So, I know that there's only a certain amount of scholarships, and I did see one argument. I like to give, not an argument, but I did see the other side of it. It's like, well, for instance, Ohio State, all their guys leave early. Well, they're recruiting receivers to fill those spots. Let's say, because a lot of, the couple of the receivers went, or they're recruiting a quarterback. They already, they're constantly recruiting based on guys going. So then all of a sudden, if a guy comes back, the spot's not there, and it's going to mess everything up. And I'm kind of like, well, yeah, but I don't believe in not doing things that are, that I feel are correct just because we don't have an answer for why it's inconvenient. I'm like, okay, a lot of things are inconvenient. You figure it out. I've been talking about this with, another discussion about the NIL for a couple of weeks now. Like, NIL's going to ruin college sports because teams, they can't pay and all this. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you can't not do something just because it makes it inconvenient. Like, come up with a plan. Like, we can easily right now. I'm having this discussion about college players. Even if we want to start with undrafted college players, just undrafted college players want to go back to college, we can figure that out pretty quickly. We can figure it out like immediately. This is not difficult, because I look at it this way. So what's the difference between a guy goes in the transfer portal, and let's say he moves from Oklahoma to Oklahoma State in the transfer portal? How is that different than an undrafted player wants to, like, say an Oklahoma player declares for the draft, changes his mind, now he wants to go to Oklahoma State? How is that different than the direct transfer portal? But that works. You know what I mean? Teams make room for that. Teams adjust for that. To me, there's absolutely no difference. It's another one of these subjects where people are like, it's just not how we do it. I sometimes it just mentally kicks in, like, it's not how we do it. There must be a reason. It's going to screw something up that I love. And that seems to be a lot of the argument with most of these things, whether it's NIL or whether it's draft, all these, anything that's a right. We get a little nervous that, like, hey, this is going to start. This is starting to infringe on something that I enjoy and a part of my life that I love. So I am just going to be against it. And then that way we don't have to worry about it. If I just say no, and we don't let this happen, we don't change anything, nothing's going to change. And then I'll be fine. What I like will still be there. That's not how I think you should do things. Easily figure out how undrafted players could go back to college. Easily figure it out. Like, I could do it tomorrow. It's not that big a deal. It's not 1,000 players going back to college. It just, it's that's not what it's going to be. So, and it's another one of these things, like, or is, another thing is, like, basically, what do we want to do? We naturally, like, there's just, it's the weirdest thing about, I don't want to get too much into this, but it's the weirdest thing. Sports fans really don't like athletes. I have no idea why. I don't know if it's a jealousy thing or whatever, but then, so now this becomes another one of those, well, they should have known better. Like, this weird, like, athletes should get punished every time every time they make a decision that's not just be loyal to the school. It's always punishment. Like, well, they should get punished. They get punished. Like, yeah, that's, I don't know what to tell them. Like, or should they just be allowed to, like, make a unsure decision and then go back on it and continue their life? That seems more logical to me, but that's just me. So yeah, it's just something that came across my bow yesterday. I thought it was I thought it was interesting. I thought it was some good conversations around it. So I thought I'd share with you guys today. So, that's pretty much it for the day. 365 is, we like to hit quick in and out. I want to give you something to think about. I imagine on your drive to work, or when you get to work. Again, it's water cooler talk. and inspire it. And what we like is, get the feedback, get at Off the Ball Network on Twitter. Tell us how you feel about these subjects. Tell me why I'm crazy. Tell me why an undrafted college kid never deserves a second chance. That at playing a sport. Like we say, it's just a game, but when it feels like sometimes we don't act like it's just a game, all that stuff. We appreciate that over here. So again, and most importantly, it's Taco Tuesday. So enjoy your tacos today. Maybe we'll get tacos and touchdowns to start doing the Tuesday episodes. That'd be great, wouldn't it? So again, thanks everyone for listening, watching, subbing, all the things. You can find the Off the Ball Network podcast feed everywhere you get your podcast. So it's up to you. I won't press any of them on you. As long as you listen, I love you all. Have a good day. Check out offtheballnetwork.com. This has been Jeff for OTBN365.